All right, let's dive into an idea that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction. A single global currency, run by a perfectly neutral AI. The question is this the future we're building, or just a total fantasy?
I mean, just think about it for a second. A currency that's always stable, that never causes crazy inflation, and that no single country could use as a weapon. A system built on pure logic for the good of literally everyone. It's a pretty amazing vision, almost utopian, right?
Well, when you actually dig into it, the answer you get back is a huge flashing no. But the reasons why are way more fascinating than the original idea. Turns out it has almost nothing to do with how good the code is, and everything to do with power, history, and some really inconvenient truths about technology itself.
So to even begin to understand why an AI currency is such a long shot, you first have to grasp the incredible, overwhelming power of the current king of the hill, the US dollar. Its reign isn't some accident. It's a system that's been built and reinforced for decades.
The scale here is just staggering. Get this, a whopping 88% of all currency trades on the entire planet have the US dollar on one side of the deal. It's not just a big player, it's the water that the whole global financial system swims in.
And it's not just about the physical cash either. The dollar is propped up by this, the US Treasury market. We're talking about a pool of assets worth over $28 trillion. It's considered the safest place on earth to park your money. So any challenger doesn't just need a new currency, they need to create a new safe haven this big. Good luck with that.
And look, this whole setup didn't just pop up overnight. Back in 1944, the Bretton Woods Agreement basically made the dollar the world's anchor. Then, when that system fell apart in '71, the US pulled off this brilliant pivot, striking a deal to make sure the world's most important commodity, oil, was priced only in dollars. That one move cemented its power for another 50 years.
This quote from economist Barry Eichengreen just nails it. It perfectly explains what people call America's exorbitant privilege. Think about it. The U.S. prints paper for pennies, and in exchange, it gets real stuff, cars, phones, resources, from the rest of the world. It is the ultimate economic cheat code, and no country would ever give that up without a fight.
Okay, so the politics are a nightmare. The economics, a huge wall to climb. But what about the tech? Surely a super smart AI could handle the job, right? Well, if you look at the history of automated finance, you find some pretty scary stories.
Let me tell you a little horror story from the financial world. Back in 2012, a huge firm called Knight Capital was basically wiped off the map. It took less than an hour, and it was done in by its own software.
The final tally? Just, wow, $440 million. Gone. Vanished from the company's accounts in 45 minutes. A complete and total financial meltdown, all triggered by a machine moving at the speed of light.
So what caused this disaster? You'd think it was some sophisticated nation-state hack, right? Nope. It was one technician who forgot to copy a file to one server out of 8. That tiny little human mistake woke up some old, buggy code, and the whole system just went berserk. Now imagine that kind of fragility, but on a global scale.
And believe me, this wasn't just a one-off fluke. AI has a really terrible track record with what we call black swan events, those huge, unpredictable crises that change everything. It completely missed the 2008 financial crash. During the COVID pandemic, one AI model actually learned that the font a hospital used in its reports was a better predictor of risk than a patient's actual symptoms. AI is amazing at finding patterns in stuff it's already seen, but it's completely blind to the unknown.
In fact, check this out. An analysis by MIT Technology Review looked at hundreds of AI tools that were built to help fight the pandemic. They found that out of 232 of them, exactly 0 were actually useful in a real hospital. When a truly new crisis hit, our most advanced tech was a total bust. And this brings us to the really deep problem, the one that goes way beyond code. We just assume an AI would be perfectly neutral. But here's the thing. The very idea of a neutral technology is a myth. Every single system ever built has human values baked right into it. Think about it like this. You have to make a choice. Do you focus on keeping prices low and stable, even if it means some people lose their jobs? Or do you make sure everyone has a job, even if that means prices start to climb? There's no right or wrong mathematical answer here. It's a choice about what you value more. So, which value do we program into the AI?
There's a philosopher, Luciano Floridi, who put it perfectly. He said that technology is always designed by some people
for some people, with a specific point of view. An AI global banker wouldn't be some impartial machine god. It would just be a mirror, reflecting the biases of the people who built it.
And you know what? We don't even need to imagine this. We see it happen all the time in the real world. Institutions like the IMF and the World Bank were supposedly created for neutral global cooperation. But in reality, they're dominated by their most powerful members. The US has veto power, and the top jobs are handed out based on backroom political deals. If we can't even make our human institutions neutral, what chance does an AI have?
So if this utopian single AI currency isn't in the cards, then what is actually happening out there? Well, all the signs are pointing in the exact opposite direction. Not toward one unified world, but toward a much more fractured one.
Look, the dollar's grip is loosening a little bit. Its share of the world's reserve currency has dropped from over 70% down to around 56%. But here's the twist. The world isn't lining up behind one new king. Instead, countries are breaking off, forming their own little currency clubs and trade deals.
And that right there highlights the single biggest difference between a person and a program. In a real crisis, like in 2008 or during the pandemic, human central bankers literally invented new rules and tools on the spot to save the system. An AI can't do that. It's stuck with the objectives it was given. Humans can adapt, a rigid algorithm can't.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. This is literally what the people who manage the world's money are saying. A big survey of central bankers came to a really clear conclusion. AI is an amazing tool to help us see things, but when it comes time to make the big call, that decision has to stay with a human.
So, at the end of the day, the idea of a perfect, neutral AI currency, it's a cool sci-fi plot, but it's not our reality. The real world is shaping up to be a lot messier and a lot more competitive. So the real question isn't whether an AI will take over. It's, as the world splits apart into these competing money zones, who's going to win the new currency wars?